What's up? It's Sharp here with the Kicked Out at 2 Dynamite review for March 17th, 2021. We're talking St. Patrick's Day Slam, baby. And before we get into any of the matches, I just want to ask you guys, what did you think about the theme? Do you think it mattered at all? Should they be doing any?
A little bit campy, but I gotta say, seeing Penta in the hat when he kept putting on like some random hat, I popped for that. For that.
Like a leprechaun luchador type deal. I mean, it's fun. But I think AEW does great when they have theme shows. So even if it's ridiculous, I'll still enjoy like their theme shows.
I liked it too. I just really wish they had done something on the stage. I really like set pieces and whatnot. So if they just had a big shamrock or something, do something to really put everyone in green, which I liked, even though it was corny, but I was like, whatever.
Yeah.
Something else.
It's like the theme. It's so hard to be corny.
Yeah. Not to go on
they could have put
but WWE used to have like really ornate sets that were specifically just for that. Like if it was Backlash, sometimes they would have like a knife swinging or something,
like a pendulum.
Yeah.
They could have put someone through a shamrock table at some point. I mean, especially as like some of these matches went. So yeah, for sure.
All right. So first thing we saw was MJF's new faction walk off a plane, looking pretty dapper in their suits.
A private plane.
Yeah.
They know how to ride.
They did look good too. I like the look of them all together.
Yeah.
Presentation is key. That was a great start off. Presentation is key.
I agree. And we had the first match. We had a quick vignette of Penta's translator saying that Penta would break Cody's arm, send him on paternity leave. Then we had the match, and didn't quite work out for Penta. 10 minutes, Cody beat him with a roll-up. After the match, Penta attacked Cody's injured shoulder, but the Nightmare family ran him off. The only one who was a little late was QT Marshall, and again teased dissension with him and the Nightmare family.
Like this match was great in a sense of like these are the singles competitors that need to be kind of pushed. I want to say maybe great. I would say it's good from the get-go. Like the big thing, and this is what Cody does a lot, is he wants to make his like adversaries, his competitors look very strong. I don't know if I would really agree with that. He like kind of did every finisher in the book and he would kick out and then he does a roll up and then pins him. It's a lot of people, like a lot of the old school wrestlers get really like give him a lot of flack for that or whatever. And my only other tidbit, but like everyone does it. And I'm not sure if you guys were old school, like TNA fans with like Petey Williams. Everyone does the Canadian Destroyer, like in every match. Now it doesn't even matter like who you are. Like you can, like everyone's like, okay, let's throw in a Canadian Destroyer in there. So other than that, it was fine. I liked Penta and like looking strong here, but just kind of finished with the roll up. So I say it's a pretty good, semi-decent match. At the end though, I know they're trying, like everyone's boys with like QT Marshall. I'm sure he's like great in the back or whatever, but like it's tough to find this backstory of like, oh, like I don't want QT to leave. Like I don't know when he's there at times. Like it's like I thought they were going to build him up as in like, oh, okay, he's like kind of a side character in Nightmare Family, and then they're going to build him up, but now they're already turning him heel. I'm like, you barely even got the ground running from the get-go. Now that was kind of like whatever to me.
Yeah, as far as the match, I thought that I like the match. One criticism I have is I don't think that Cody really acted like he had an injured shoulder at the right times. I think every now and then he would kind of gesture to it or whatever, but it wasn't a consistent thing throughout the match. One thing that I did really like that I thought was consistent throughout the match was the fact that whenever Penta would do some of his more showy showmanship stuff, Cody would attack that. And that was something I noticed early on that went throughout, and he ended up, I think, getting the roll up on like something similar, or like he would attack on anytime Penta would try and like, you know, do the like fear is nothing kind of stuff. Wait, is that right? What is it?
No fear. Zero fear, right?
Zero fear. I'm sorry. Yeah, when he would do like zero fear, Cody would come up to attack him, or when Penta would be like trying to hype up the crowd, Cody would come to attack him. So that was really good. but the shoulder stuff, it's almost like we didn't need 2 subplots to the match going on. And I feel like, I don't know that Cody forgot it, but like he would do all these moves with his shoulder and then be like, oh, it hurts. I liked it overall. I mean, who wins, like, sort of doesn't matter. The QT Marshall stuff is just like the thing I could care less about. But again, the other thing I'll say is, like, they know how to start a show. AEW's opening matches are almost always one of the best matches on the card.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed this. But yeah, and I loved the idea of Cody, who seems like a guy who would be smart to take advantage of his opponent's weaknesses, doing that with Penta. But the shoulder injury stuff was really bad, and just like, I don't know.
So I liked it. I thought it kind of was a strange flow to the match because Cody was the face and he kind of dominated. Like, I don't think it was that great of a show for Pentagon other than him kicking out of a ton of moves.
Yeah.
I know it's clear that they left stuff on the table for a future match, so that I'm okay with that because I think Penta will eventually get put over. My biggest issue was with the match was afterwards. Penta's beatdown on Cody's shoulder was not good. It didn't look like he was throwing really bad punches and like forearms on his shoulder, and it really.
Well, you should stomp a shoulder too, right? You shouldn't even punch it.
It was just really not vicious. And then the Nightmare family ran out and were like helping him up like he had just taken the worst beating of his life.
Yeah, it was just like one dude too. Like
and you're just beating up someone's shoulder, just beat the shit out of it. Like, just lay in shots. It's someone's arm. They can take, like, I don't know. It just looked really bony. But Cody's top rope Hurricane Rana was really impressive. That was really cool.
Yeah.
No, that was strong.
But overall, it was decent for me. And I'm glad that this is continuing on because I definitely think they have a better match in them.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So then backstage, the Bucks were interviewed by Alex Marvez. Don Callis interrupted, of course, and gave the Young Bucks a no leg slaps t-shirt. Bucks accused Callis of changing Omega. He said he did change. He's a god of wrestling. Then Callis kind of ran down the Bucks and said lately there's nothing elite about them, kind of like poked at them to bring out the old New Japan Young Bucks. What'd you think about the segment, Quags?
This is the most I like Don Callis. I really enjoyed this. And I mean, this led to obviously some stuff later in the show, but I was into this a lot, and I thought great promo by Don Callis, and also like a little bit of trying to put Matt and Nick against each other. Like subtly even, but yeah, I really enjoyed that segment.
I actually thought like the beginning of it was actually decent from like the Young Bucks. Like what AEW does is that they put emphasis on tag teams, and that's why their tag team division is like really stacked, just because even in their backstage promos, they'll even talk about it. I was like happy that he said like, okay, you beat us in singles competition, but we're the tag team champs. You didn't beat us in tag team matches. We're the best at that. So it kind of proves as I'm like, okay, you guys are the tag team champs. They're the team to beat. So it's like when they lose singles competition, they're like, okay, you got us there, but you're not going to beat us when we're a team. I like that. Don Callis, he's a great manager. And I wasn't really a huge fan of him. Like he said, he admitted that he faked the injury or something like that. I'm not huge of faking injury when this is all scripted anyway. So like I try and like steer away from that, but it was kind of like up and down for me.
I thought it was okay. I thought it was good. But I didn't like the no leg slaps t-shirt because that's like a shot at WWE, because I think they put that in their locker room to do no leg slaps. But I don't think telling people to not do leg slaps is that bad of a thing. And I think in a way you're making fun of yourselves because so many guys on this card do leg slaps and it's very noticeable. So I don't think you should like show hint to the crowd that like.
So this is that like when you kick someone, you slap your leg to make a better sound of super kick?
Or even punch sometimes. Luchasaurus and Phoenix are probably the top two offenders, I'd say.
I don't mind like the sound effect. It does make it sound better, but you do have to at least attempt to like hide it. Like don't make it as noticeable as I'm smacking my thigh as loud as I can. Like try your best. Like we all get it.
If you really watch one closely, you can definitely see like them like visibly doing it, and especially it's bad when they clearly miss and you still hear a slap noise and you're like, Jesus Christ.
So
clean it up.
So number one, I did not notice this during the or like I didn't give it a second thought. I don't know what I thought he was talking about when he said that. But then I remember my like watching wrestling on TV versus going to wrestling. And when you go to see your first indie match, I feel like this is one of the things you notice the most is how many leg slaps are done. Yeah. And then my second thing is the person I think that does this the most is Dolph Ziggler, because I feel like I can see him do it on TV all the time.
Everyone does it, man.
Yeah.
All right, so then we saw Jade Cargill squashing Danny Jordan in just a little bit over a minute. After the match, she jawed with Red Velvet at ringside. I'll just say, good squash, perfect, exactly what it needed to be. Nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah, I agree. Star in the making. Keep doing this.
Yeah, why is she beefing with Red Velvet? Like,
she already beat her.
Someone more important.
It didn't bother me because at least they have like a bit of a history, so they'll have a one-on-one match where they'll put Cargill over. I think it's okay.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like, I don't hate it. I just mean, like, it's clear she seems like a star. She looks awesome. Like the her finisher pose is so good. Like when she
she's just jacked.
flips,
like she's very just strong.
Does whatever and then like flips the woman over and then like looks back while she's pinning them down like that. It looks so good.
Yeah. All right. So then we had MJF introducing the new faction. They all came out to the ring. Tully spoke first, recapped last week's beatdown of Inner Circle, and he said that 30 years ago he's part of the greatest group in pro wrestling and he'll end his career doing the same. MJF took the mic, mocked Jericho's physique, and said it was tough keeping up the charade of wanting to join the Inner Circle, but he wanted to destroy them from the inside while creating a group of his own. Pretty much went down the line, touted up all the different members of the new faction, gassed himself up, said when he's done, Jericho won't be the GOAT, he will. Said the faction was the pinnacle and that they're coming for all the premier championships the sport has to offer. Also, this was kind of random. They're also going to go take over Inner Circle's locker room. Captain he's better than you. I'm better than you. You know it. Christopher, what did you think?
I thought this was great. At the end of last week's show, this is exactly what I was looking forward to. I was like, okay, I want to see what these guys are about, who they are, why are they together and everything. And MJF is perfect in this role. Like it made sense of like the whole, this is great storytelling in itself because it was a little awkward to see MJF playing kind of second fiddle to Jericho and then him explaining all this. I'm like, this makes perfect sense. He even, I loved when he did introduce everyone, touted everyone like from literally person to person. FTR, Wardlow, even got Tully, and then he even like we talked about like Sean Spears is great in the ring, but then when MJF was talking about him, you cared about him a little bit more. MJF is basically a giant star that makes everyone else a bigger star that when you're around him. So that's like a kind of a perfect avenue. And now we got really compelling stories we got from next week on, like you talked about all like the different feuds they have with the Inner Circle and like the locker room thing, they'll kind of throw a jab in there and stuff like that, but now you could see they're kind of like I'm okay with AEW have plenty of groups and factions and stuff, but now they're the it group, now they're the it team now, and I think a lot of things are going to be revolving around them. This was definitely one of my highlights of the show.
You talk about something that you watch and you're just like, this is really compelling. Like, yeah, I can't look away.
Yes.
How awesome. And MJF going through like person by person or entity by entity, because think about FTR as two people, but so good. The only so I love this segment as much as y'all did, and I'm sure most people did. My only criticism in my little bit of MJF is young is people were chanting you suck, or like you guys suck, and MJF should have come back at them with something, I feel like, at that point. So I mean, this is really nitpicking, and I want to totally say that I thought it was awesome and the promo was awesome and he ended it so well, just looking at the camera that closely, it didn't really matter. But imagine this was 20,000 people and they were chanting "You suck." It would have been harder to ignore.
Yeah.
So I sort of wish that MJF would have said something to come back to everyone. But at the same time, yeah, he's starting this. This is, the first promo for the Pinnacle. I'm sure that he's getting that feedback, and I hope it gets better. So much like last week where I said, let's wait for Scorpio Sky to come back with a vignette or a promo. Let's wait to see like what MJF says about people chanting "You suck." But this was great. I mean, like the end of the promo was so awesome. I think this is going to be one of those that I look up on YouTube in 10 years and watch back and say like, yeah, this dude was so good.
Yeah, hopefully there's longevity in it.
I definitely like to bring up my roommate who just watches Dynamite with me, not really that interested in wrestling. And midway through, he's like, MJF's so good on the mic. Yeah. I loved, and I'm going to give myself a pat on the back because I kind of feel like I mapped this out a little bit, that he was saying he wanted to destroy Inner Circle from the inside, like make them feud with each other rather than just trying to kick their ass with his own group. I love that.
That makes sense.
I like the name Pinnacle. It's a great heel faction name. I think that's it makes sense. I think them bunch of guys wearing looking great. I think that's perfect for what they look like and the vibe they put out.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought the promo by Tully was good too. I like that they started with him. It was just cut and dry, like no bones about it. Just I think
they use old guys so well. Yeah. Like, no offense to Tully saying old guys, but I'm sure he would say he is. But yeah, they do that so well. Where they validate, right? It validates MJF. It validates what he's saying. Like, yeah, absolutely, so good.
And like even MJF like touting him as in like one of the greatest minds. Like I actually was a little bit worried of like Tully Blanchard coming in, like being FTR's manager, being Sean Spears' manager. I'm like, I like it as a manager role, but I'm like, they give him the mic a lot. I'm like, is he going to be like kind of giving up too much of it? But no, he does a perfect job of just like says what he says and then passes off and then shines a light on the young guys. That's exactly what needs to happen.
I just had one more note for this segment, and that was, I'm just thinking Omega gives the belt to Paige to MJF. I'm just thinking of the fastest way to get the belt on MJF because that's what needs to happen. Because the more mic time you give that guy, the better. I mean, he doesn't have to have the belt to
it might be a slow build, to be honest, because like I think what they're trying to do now is it's because like other companies, you don't want these and this was like a hot topic for a lot of old school wrestlers, you don't want these belts to become props, and that's what a lot of belts have been nowadays. So you want to make it a big deal when these titles switch hands. Like even every time, like there's not been many world champions. You got Jericho, Moxley, and then Omega. And then like now they're kind of telling the story from there. But you're right. I mean, also he pointed out he's so young too. So they got plenty of time with him, but every time he's on the mic, it's like, how can you deny him?
I liked that so much that he said, I'm only 24. I mean, I'm 31. That made me feel bad. And also it's a cool thing to say, like, look, these dudes are young, like Darby, MJF. Like it's cool to highlight how AEW is highlighting the young and the old. And I mean, like, everybody in between, but it seems like that's this company's sort of vibe, is that we have these old guys, but we're also like really elevating young talent that otherwise would have stuck around in the indies for whatever 6-7 years, like finally got onto NXT, and then maybe a couple of years later got into Raw, and then they're old by then, right?
And then they stoner gimmick like Matt Riddle and go nowhere.
Yeah, or like
just a halt.
Like, not to totally cross over on our podcast, but for Bobby Lashley to finally win the title is so great in WWE. But he's old. How long can he? He can't. He's
not to cross.
Oh, who's he gonna give it over to? Like.
Yeah, this was pretty.
And
funny.
That's unfair to him.
not to like cross it over, but when they like made a big deal saying he finally won it, I was like, it took him. I was just like, you guys didn't realize like this guy's humongous. You guys didn't want to put it on him. I'm like, that makes no sense.
Yeah.
But back to Dynamite World over here. I'm telling you, I'm really excited for the Pinnacle. I'm excited for like every segment now that they do for each show.
All right, let's move on and do Matt Hardy, Butcher Blade, Private Party, the debut of the Matt Empire. I think he was going to cut like a little vignette touting them up. They beat Jurassic Express and Bear Country in about 8 minutes after Private Party hit Marco with the gin and juice. Hardy tagged himself in to hit wounded Marco with the twist of fate. This all happened after like a little bit of dissension between Bear Country and Jurassic Express.
Yeah, I liked watching Bear Country. I hadn't watched Dark with them before, so that was cool seeing them. I love Luchasaurus. I thought that was really like his moment when he was like trashing everyone. I thought that was awesome. I don't know what purpose this match really served, except for to keep people on TV and to think like maybe Bear Country and Jurassic Express is going to have a feud. So that's cool, but yeah, I don't know. I thought the match was fine, but
I really liked the pace of the match. It made it feel like it's realistic that like the faces, like the good guys, didn't get along, because every time it's just like we do this hokey stuff, like we're good guys, let's high five each other, like just because like you have the same attitude doesn't mean that you could mesh well. So I made it a little bit more realistic, even just like how they bumped for each other, of like the Bear Country guys, they're new burly guys, and they would just like they slam someone, but they would accidentally hit their partner. I like that a lot. I thought that finer detail was really cool. You guys know about Matt Hardy's group, of how I feel about it. Not the biggest fan. I like his gimmick, but not it. This is like we're getting to borderline of group of misfits now, because now like we did say it's a stretch of like Private Party and Butcher and Blade. They got nothing in common, but they're like, and then you got Big Money Matt saying, but we all love money. I'm like, okay, just know that this is getting a little bit close to like, okay, let's just put you guys in because we got nothing else for you to do. But I actually like Butcher Blade a lot, and it kind of makes sense. Like, and this is just me knowing a lot about this. They were actually, when they first debuted in AEW, they were hired guns. I remember MJF would pay them off and say, and then they would put hits on like people and stuff like that. So that makes sense to me. But again, it's like we talked about the Pinnacle debut, the debut just right this segment before, and Quacks, you were saying how like these old guys do accentuate these young guys. I'm a little bit worried with Matt Hardy. I know he has the best interest of elevating these young guys, but every time it seems like it's the Matt Hardy showing like, hey, these guys are behind me.
I thought it was good. I thought it was a fine way to debut the team. You knew they were going to win. They weren't going to lose in their first match. There's nothing wrong with knowing who's going to win, though. A little too much Marco for me. Actually, better served as a heel manager, just being annoying. I can't. I hate him. Like, I want to see him get his ass kicked.
He doesn't play the plucky baby face as much. He kind of is more of like spunky, as in like kind of like your kid brother that you just kind of want to just knee in the face.
Yeah.
That was aggressive.
Perfect person to give to get pinned to save the other people from having to lose a match. And the only other thing I'll say is I'm usually pretty critical of Luchasaurus's comebacks, and Quags, you brought this up. I thought this one looked really crisp and really good. Like, I didn't think it looked nearly as choreographed, so I'll give him that when he deserves it.
Sometimes I mean, like, I really like him. I wish he would. I wonder if this is just me. Like, I love Luchasaurus. Like, I wish he would get a singles run, but at the same time, like, I love this little group.
I don't think it's just you. I think the fans do like him quite a bit, him and Jungle Boy. And I mean, a lot of like Marco Stunt, but there's definitely Luchasaurus pops whenever when they had fans.
I remember when they first debuted, I actually texted Eric saying, I don't get this. It's a kid who is like Tarzan and there's a dinosaur and everyone's just going crazy. And I'm like, I don't get this. And then I watched it like one time, and then I texted Eric saying, I totally get it now. I'm like such a big fan of them.
You know what? Yeah, I mean, like, again, sorry, doing WWE crossover, but it feels like Elias, where it's like, why is this funny?
Yeah.
And then you watch it a few times, you're like, wow, This is
Now I
really
like-
funny.
yeah.
Like I get it. Like I'm
Okay,
in. Like,
well, I'll agree with that. I think Elias is terrible.
When he started, he was good, and then it just flamed out. They're
all
just
right,
like,
sorry.
"Oh,
We
this
can
is
move on.
this
We
is
can move
funny.
on.
Let's do it for 10 more straight weeks, and let's see how this turns out."
All right. So Moxley and Kingston were interviewed. Moxley said he should be on a beach sipping Mai Tais, but they gotta go to war, baby. Wasted money on Good Brothers Coffee Shop of Mania pay-per-view and made fun of Gallows' googly eyes. He said this isn't Impact, it's their home. Kingston got a little more serious than Moxley. Quoted 50 Cent and Tupac, and he said that the Good Brothers are cowards. Cowards die 1,000 deaths, and soldiers die once. I'll just say, I know these two have good chemistry together, and they're like good friends. This was too goofy for me. I like loose promos like this, but this was like, they're both great characters when they're a little more serious, and I thought this was strange. And I will say, I know Talking Shop Mania is an inside reference, but I actually purchased that too, and it was fucking awful. So I totally making fun of it. So I fought for that, but I didn't like the segment. I thought it was not very good.
This is so funny because I feel like I'm usually the one that's down on Moxley's promos in general, and I really like this one. I thought it didn't get too goofy. I thought that they towed the line like pretty well, and that Moxley was being a little bit goofy, and Kingston like kind of reined him in. But that's so funny that you're on the other side of me for this one. But
It wasn't
either
long, but
either way, I felt like I felt there was better direction. Like I knew why they were gonna go fight the Good Brothers, and that's what I get on Moxley for a lot of times. I don't understand why he's saying what he's saying, and this one I felt like, okay, I got it. I know why you're doing this. I know why Eddie Kingston is with you. Like I get it.
Yeah, I was even Stevens with this promo, to be honest. I thought it was good. They're both great on the mic, but I knew whatever they were going to say was nothing new was going to be here, as in like, okay, like we see this feud for a while, it's going to happen. That's all I had.
all right. So then we had Dasha interviewing Christian Cage. He touted himself as the workhorse in professional wrestling. I forgot that I capitalized the in that. He said he knows he'll have to win matches and earn his spot, and that the only spot he's interested in is Omega's. He'll cement his legacy in AEW by outworking everyone.
Yeah, to be honest, I was a little disappointed in this. I was touting Christian Cage last week for a while, but then I saw this. I kind of wish like he would kind of be heel Christian Cage from old TNA. I enjoyed that a lot.
Well,
Like instant classic Christian Cage.
Promo. He was a little cocky in this promo. Didn't sound 100% of a face promo to me.
No, it wasn't super face, but let's talk about what the meat of the promo was, that he works hard. And not to be mean or anything, but like every professional wrestler,
Sure.
everyone works hard. I think I actually read like an interview one time where someone was asking like John Cena for advice, and John Cena was like, okay, who are you? Like, what is so-and-so? What does your name mean? And like the person was like, oh, I work hard to do this. And then John Cena said, well, everyone works hard. So what else?
Yeah.
And like that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Like everyone is going to give 100%. Everyone is going to give like works hard and everything. So I get like I'll work everyone. He does it more so than everyone else, but like, it's not going to really stand out. I mean, like, look, one of our favorite guys is Orange Cassidy, and he literally is portraying a guy who does not work hard, and now he's like one of the most over guys. So like, that just shows, let alone that like being different is kind of like the way to go. So I even got that vibe from the t-shirt, like when it said outwork everyone. I'm like, okay, like we already know he's great. Like I really enjoy Christian's matches. I always enjoy them. I enjoy the storyline and stuff. I just thought this kind of fell flat if like just working hard was the main part of it.
So I'm at the point where I need to see him wrestle, because I thought this was a good promo, and I was decidedly not excited for Christian. But the couple things he said where he goes, I know this is AEW, I know I need to win matches until I can challenge Kenny, but really I want to have that championship. That got him over for me, because last week I said, like, how can a guy walk in and hold that belt and look at it and even have that expectation that he can compete for the championship without a record mattering or whatever. So I think it's funny because I was really low on him, Chris, and you were really high on him last week. I feel like now we've calibrated and now we're at the same point.
We gotta give the balance of power.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm excited to see what he does, but at the end of the day, I guess that's what it is. Like, you got to see what the guy can do in the ring. Yeah.
So the balance of power is about to be completely equal because
Uh-oh.
I like this promo a lot too.
Wow, we did an old switcheroo.
I don't know. I thought he was confident, but I don't really want to add that much because exactly like Quag said, I like that he understands that he's got to win some matches. But why shouldn't it realistically in storyline? Why shouldn't his main goal be to win the world title? So I enjoyed that. I just thought it was it didn't break any new ground. Don't get me wrong, but
No.
it was a good, quick 2-minute wrestling promo. I think that
I don't mind that.
Well,
That he talked about like working towards a world title. I think that kind of gave everyone more relief, as in like, okay, cool. They're not just going to just hand these guys just out left and right of a new guy that just comes in just to make it fresh and new. It was just more of like, I kind of wish I knew, like, I thought when they said we're going to hear from Christian Cage from the first time and like on AEW, I thought I was going to get a little bit more.
And also, I will say, like, the outwork everyone, I don't mind, but it's also kind of a little bit of like a backstage type thing. Like, everyone knows that I work really hard in my matches.
Right.
And it's like, well, realistically, it shouldn't matter storyline wise if you work hard during the match. It's just if you win or you lose. It was kind of like behind the scenes kayfabe type stuff where it's like, we know you're a good wrestler. I don't know.
I take that as like in the gym, like off camera and everything, he's going to work so hard that he's going to be able to come in and like, pin whoever.
I mean, Christian doesn't exactly have the best physique though, or like
we said that he's on the older side, as in like I'm a big fan of Edge. Like it's just like,
well, you have to work harder.
It's like I actually really enjoy like Edge and Christian so much. I told Eric this before. I might have told you this. I actually met them in person one time at my gym, and they were like the two nicest guys like in the world. Like it was like pretty weird.
You never told me this. That's amazing.
Christopher's love for Christian. Well, no, you talked more about Edge though.
I talked to Edge was more there. I think it was just weird because like I live in Stamford, Connecticut, so like they were obviously visiting the headquarters and they were just going to my gym, and then I was just like, well, I definitely have to introduce myself to him or whatever. And it was pretty funny actually, like, and it was just Edge coming in. Christian wasn't there yet because they came in for like a week. And then I finally just like kind of mustered up, like just go up to Edge as I'm like, all right, hopefully he doesn't hate it that I'm just going up to him like, hey, I just want to let you know I'm a big fan. And he's like, thanks, man. How are you doing? And then I looked at him like, in my head, I'm like, I didn't think we would get this far.
That's awesome.
No, but then I was joking around. We talked a bit about like his matches and stuff like that or whatever. Like I was telling him like how I became a fan and everything. And he was just a really super cool dude. And then Christian came in. I told him I was a big fan and I talked to him briefly. He was the same thing. Was just talking to me a little bit, and he was a really cool guy. So yeah, maybe a little bit of bias here and there.
that's so cool. Yeah. Like how awesome.
Yeah, it was just so random. I remember I was just walking and then this like kind of this Viking type guy just walks in. I'm just like, that looks like Edge.
All right. So then Kingston and John Moxley defeated Good Brothers about 10 minutes. Good Brothers jump-started the match, attacked Moxley and Kingston on the stage. We saw a very gentle magic killer on the floor to Moxley. Kingston got beat up for the most of the match. Eventually, Moxley caught Anderson, I think a small package, some type of roll-up for the win. Jesus, voice cracking. After the match, Kenny and Callis hit the ring and a beatdown ensued. Kingston tried to save Moxley, but they put Kingston's leg in the chair. They Pillmanized it, stomp off the turnbuckle before they could do the Moxley's neck. Bucks ran down, stopped them. After a little bit of arguing, Bucks turned down doing a 2-sweet. And in that time, Mox was able to run off Good Brothers and Kenny with a chair.
So first of all, John Moxley almost did the rope bounce, Dean Ambrose move.
I
Did
didn't
you
know that.
catch it?
You
No,
guys
I
are
didn't.
so into that.
He
I love
he
that
did
rope
it, but
bounce.
It's so
he
random.
didn't bounce in between the first and second rope. He just bounced on the first rope, and he did it. Which honestly looks way better and more real, like a real wrestling move. But anyway, what I loved about this match was the cadence. This is something that I always look for, especially in tag team matches where they don't do the typical, heel face kind of thing. And they
Mhm.
didn't do this at all. And also, they all looked exhausted. Like by the third part of the match here, or fourth part of the match, like the end, they all looked like they were so tired, which I had. I mean, I'm sure they are always, but it was really cool to see them just like look and act, and I think that was part of the match was that they looked so exhausted. Sorry, I'm just looking at my notes here. It seems like they didn't necessarily have a game plan, which I believe with the Good Brothers versus a random tag team of Moxley and Kingston. Like, hey, we're just gonna go out, we're gonna try and beat the shit out of each other. And so that was really cool. The roll up, I don't know, AEW does so many roll ups, and I wouldn't mind it.
The Cody one earlier in the night, and then to have like another roll up was kind of
that's what I thought. I'm like, another roll up, but I mean, what can you do?
So I have the same comment on the next segment of the interrupting. I would have loved it if they didn't do it every single week. Like if they don't do the roll-ups all the time, it's great, but they do them all the time. And at some point, like there's a limit to how many of these are cool or like are acceptable even.
Or like ridiculous.
All right. Yeah. So for the beatdown, my number one thing was Kenny didn't have the belt. Where's the belt? And I feel like your champion, or if you have 100 valets like Kenny does, someone should have the belt. And no one did. So that was weird.
Wait, are you referring to belt? Like what belt are you referring to?
The championship belt, right?
I didn't push that either way, but you're probably right. I didn't.
No one had the belt. No one had
I know. I thought you were saying Moxley's like belt.
You're like, oh, he didn't have his signature like leather belt on.
That's what I was like wondering. I was like, who's coming in as the champ? You're talking about Omega. Yeah, no, like
no,
always like
no, they
that.
didn't. They literally didn't have the.
But you might be right. You should, why not show it off? Why not have it there?
Well, I was waiting when he took his like overshirt off. I was waiting for the belt to be under it, but it wasn't. Like they didn't. Yeah, he wasn't wearing the belt. So if you're the champ, and especially if you have Don Callis, right?
Right.
Like at least he should be.
Yeah, he should be holding it. Yeah, I see what you mean. I thought you said Mox at first. That's why I was getting confused. But yeah, that would bother me too. As in, like this is supposed to be like the pinnacle of like the company. Why wouldn't you portray that and parade that literally everywhere you go? Well, especially him being the heel that he is.
It's at a like you have to have it with you at all times. I feel like I don't know. But I did like the Bucks coming out as tweeners, sort of like in between Moxley and Kenny, and they didn't really want to cause problems, but they didn't want Moxley to get his head cut off. So yeah, I liked all of this. I thought it was sloppy that Kenny didn't have the belt. That was like a weird critique from me, but all in all, like a good match. Just a strange like ending. But the Bucks stuff was good, and I'm excited to see where that goes. And it really did build on the promo earlier, where Don Callis was like, "Who do you want to be?" You know.
Yeah. You kind of hit everything. I thought the match was like pretty good. Okay. Unfortunate with the roll up. I thought it was an interesting start with the beatdown. I'm like, oh, okay. At least it's not going to be like the same hot tag, face heel thing.
Mhm.
The post-match beatdown. I mean, like, we knew this was gonna kind of happen. Like, this is kind of what Omega and the Good Brothers MO is. They always just like they try and hurt you when you're not looking and everything. I just wasn't like satisfied with the Young Bucks. Didn't side with them. Like, I thought that would have been more of like they were gonna do the too sweet thing, and then they're just like no, and then like the announcer's like no, they didn't do it. But I'm like they were never going to do that. Like, that wasn't like a satisfying, as in like I feel like you could have really made that into like into an arc, but maybe they wanted to just get through the story because it already kind of fumbled a little bit already. So maybe they just want to go through with it.
I thought the match was good. It doesn't bother me that they didn't do the too sweet and the announcers didn't really like. I just feel like I guess they're trying to tell a slow story that we all know where it's going. It's definitely going to be just like the Young Bucks versus brothers. They're going to turn on like their friends, but it's okay. It doesn't bother me when stories, what's going to happen before it does. Match was fine. It was good. I liked that the Good Brothers dominated these injured guys. I thought the roll up was weak, like we said, and I'll say Moxley's tope, where he just like does like a little push, is awful. Polar opposite of Darby's, where he just totally wipes the guy out.
Yeah.
It just looked like playing, like you jump out and do a quick like high five to the guy. It was bad. And we're talking about Cody not selling the arm. Moxley was not selling his. Like, he kind of had a similar thing going on too, and he was not selling that at all.
Yeah, that's true.
But I mean, it was fine. I thought it was good, and I liked. I'm a sucker for the stomping on the chair while someone's limb is in it, so I like that. I love it.
I cracked up when you said that ginger magic killer on the outside. I honestly watched that, and I even like circled, highlighted. I was just like, I even said Eric will call this out, and I was like, I'm not even gonna text him. I'm like, I'll know he'll call it out in the podcast.
All right. So would it be Dynamite if Tony Schiavone didn't interview Sting, even though Sting
honestly
to have his own segment, interviewed by Schiavone and not say a word. Sting Darby took the stage. Darby said he'd only defended the title 3 times, or he said, "How since I've been here, blah blah blah, I've defended the title 3 times," and the crowd went nuts. And he quickly had to be like, "No," but he pivoted really well.
Yeah, that was good.
Okay, I want to be a fighting champion in honor of the greatest TNT champ of all time, and everyone started chanting Cody.
They're chanting Brody.
What did you say?
They were chanting Brody, I thought.
Oh, I thought they were chanting Cody.
I mean, that's also a debate as well. As in, like, I don't even want to get into that debate. Who was a better champ, like Cody or Brody? But
I thought it was Cody as well, but
I thought
it would make more sense if it was Brody. Wow. Jeez.
Well, it's the actual fans, so they can chant whatever they want. I guess
well, some of it's the wrestlers. Maybe like get on the same page.
I mean, all due respect to Brody, but Cody did hold the title.
That's well, I mean, that's like a little. Like...
Yo, also, I just want to say, I did not realize he'd been the TNT champ for 150 plus days. Like, oh my gosh, that's a long time.
Yeah, I mean,
do you know how long that Sting and Darby versus Team Taz went through? That's the reason why it went so long.
Right. Yeah. If this podcast had started sooner, we would be more annoyed by that.
All right. So he challenged a member of Dark Order, pretty much in honor of Brody. Archer came out and he called Darby Indie-rific. He likes coughing so much that Archer's gonna put his ass in one. Then Jake took the mic, called Darby a weenie, told Sting he's gonna get what's coming. He warned the two about how dangerous Archer was, and then they kind of just walked out. And then before they could get back to the interview, Team Taz interrupted, and then Taz was interrupted by his own guy. Brian Cage said after the street fight, he respects Sting. He said Ricky Starks was wrong, with or without the bet. Sting's still the icon. Team Taz went off on Cage and just kind of pushed past him. The segment was over. I'll just say I like that Darby was still selling the leg. I like long-term stuff like that, attention to detail, and they pointed it out. I liked his segment a lot, where he talked about wanting to defend the the championship. I honestly don't think this was that bad of a segment, other than it was so much stuff crammed together, which made it bad. I think in the individual parts were interesting. My biggest point coming out of this, Cage and Archer. Archer was briefly a face, now he's turning heel. Cage is turning face, it seems. Add in Scorpio Sky turning heel. Add in Inner Circle, almost all turning face. And there's probably more examples. They are just swapping everyone right now, and I just feel like it's too much. I feel like it diminishes actual turns, like big turns where you get emotionally invested when you do so many. And my last thing was, like, if you look at the roster 6 months ago, there'll be probably so many guys that were a heel that are now a face, and face that are now a heel. But what do you think, Quags?
Yeah, I think that this would have resonated so much more. I think I just like foreshadowed this and think about the last thing, but if they didn't interrupt every week, I would have loved this segment so much, because just love the way that they came through. That I even like the Lance Archer interruption. I like the way that Brian Cage stole the mic. I thought that like can lead to a lot of other stuff. Like maybe he's going to turn on Team Taz, or, I don't know, whatever it might be, like built up a opportunity to have some dissension there. But all of this is pretty good to me.
I thought it was kind of like what you kind of hit the nail on the head there of like just like jamming everything together. I think one day I'm just gonna get like a whiteboard and just put it here of like Tony interviewing Sting and Darby. I'm just gonna tally it every week just to see how far we can go, because it's crazy how the announcers are not even. It's just like the announcers are like, oh, and we got Tony interviewing Sting and acting as if it's like the first time. I'm like, at least can you guys just maybe make this like a continuum thing, just so I don't feel crazy. And I don't know why you guys are so confused about all these heel and face turns. They just signed Paul White. You don't think he's adding in as in like, all right, guys, we got to have some heel turns, guys, some face turns right now. No, that's all jokes, obviously. No, the heel and face turns are kind of weird. They should have just spread it out, I feel like, instead of just putting it all together. I actually liked Lance Archer as a babyface tweener type monster. But, I mean, like, they kind of are showing this out a little bit. I think Darby's hitting everything on all cylinders. I think he's selling everything great. I think his promo is great, even when like people are cheering for him when he shouldn't have. He called them out and said that, and then I think he gave a shout out to Brody in the Dark Order, and I thought, but I thought that was a good shout out to them, as in like, okay, like he's got to go back into being like, he needs to keep going. Like he shouldn't, like he doesn't seem like a guy that rests on his laurels. I thought, Eric, you really highlighted him to me, saying, gotta watch this guy. And the first thing I saw was him doing a coffin drop on an apron. And I'm like, who's this guy? And then now I just see him just like passionate every time he goes. I see he puts 100% effort into literally everything he's doing. So it just makes me excited to watch him more. So I think he is the one that kind of definitely highlighted out of this. The Team Taz thing, I guess, like there's so many groups now, you kind of have to have your own story. Maybe Brian Cage, I didn't see this coming, him having a face turn or whatever. Maybe they could do something now with that FTW belt, because that's kind of a prop right now. But I mean, I'm also a little bit worried for him. He's so huge, but he cannot talk. Like it was good how he spoke.
I didn't think his promo was that bad.
No, I'm not talking about I'm not talking about his promo. I'm talking about in general. He never talks, or wherever he talks, he just says, "Who's better?" And I'm like, okay. Like Ricky Starks is the mouthpiece. I'm worried that he's not going to have a mouthpiece. Taz was such a perfect mouthpiece for Brian Cage.
But I'll say when he first took the mic and he said to Taz, like, I don't need you to talk for me, I thought that was like an error or some weird thing that was happening. Mm-hmm. And then when he continued his promo and said, like, you don't need the bat, you're the icon to me, I was impressed by that.
The promo was good. I'm just worried now, week in and week out, like if he's not going to be with Team Taz anymore, if he's going to be alone and he's going to be cutting promos. He wasn't the best promo guy. I hope like he looks like $1 million and everything. I hope he could just flourish on the mic, because then there's another huge star right there.
Yeah.
All right, so Scorpio Sky vignette about no longer being the nice guy. Said he's a wrestling savant, and if he needs to hurt people to get to the top, so be it.
I mean, this would like, I'm excited to see what Scorpio Sky is. I know Quags was talking a lot about Scorpio Sky last week, and I don't think it's fair to say like, hey Quags, like what does he say now? Because he wasn't even on the show. So like, I think this is kind of a wait and see approach. I kind of am bummed though. I wanted to. This is what I mean. Like, we had Tony interview Sting for the 900th time. Why didn't they just do something else, like interview Scorpio Sky instead? I think you should strike while the iron's hot. Like, don't wait a week, as in like, oh yeah, remember I attacked Darby like 2 weeks ago or whatever. I thought they should have done it now, but I'm still, Quacks, I'm not blacking you at all. I'm still excited to see what the Scorpio is going to say and do.
No, it makes perfect sense. I mean, when I saw this, the thing I thought was, oh, I wish this was live. I wish that he had taken the mic from Tony and done this, or, just had the opportunity to get in the ring and cut this promo, because, I thought it was pretty good, but like, obviously editing and everything else, like, it's so different than getting into the ring and cutting an actual promo. So, it's a holding pattern. I mean, like, I feel like I am justified in saying let's wait and see still with this, because I'm still a Scorpio Sky fan. I'm excited for his heel turn. I thought the explanation that he made sense, but it doesn't. A vignette like this, when you're already established, when you're not new, doesn't really mean anything.
Right.
So I completely disagree in terms of I like vignettes. I think WWE has taught everyone that in order to get a point across, you have to go out and cut like an 8-minute promo in the ring. And that's not how wrestling's been done for years. And I think this was just a far more effective way. Because look, you only got 2 hours. I'd rather just see like a quick, like, and I don't care if it's produced, like, it's Scorpio Sky. He's not that interesting anyway. Like, if you can hide.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be more interesting if it was there though? Like, that, I guess that's kind of my point.
I felt like the vignette kind of repeated what like he did. We all knew that he's a heel, that he attacked him from behind. He was probably frustrated about not being shown.
You're wrong. I'm not saying this is Dusty Rhodes Hard Times promo.
Don't even touch that.
Literally, my note says this was good. That's it.
We're talking about like 5 minutes into it.
I think those
subscribers
are great, an excellent tool that all companies should use more, that WWE used to use in the past to tout guys up, and they don't use enough anymore.
Yeah.
I think that's true to a certain extent, but not for guys like him. Like, he's been around, we know him. He just did a major heel turn, like, on TV. He needs to on TV answer for or tell about what he's done, in my opinion. I mean, like, that's what
a stepping stone, Quags.
I don't know. I have to side with Quags on this one. It's just like, if you're gonna push him, show him. Like,
push him. Yeah, if you're gonna push, he won the face. He's the face of the revolution.
You know what? I'm the new Scorpio Sky fan. No more Mr. Nice Guy.
Them Cali boys have to stick together.
Can't wait till I see you. I'm gonna kick you right in the gut and RKO you, dude. It's over.
All right, so then we had Phoenix defeating Angelico about 7 minutes with his sit out. I still don't know what the hell this move is called. Sit out pile driver. It looks great every time. What did you think, Quags?
I'm just looking at my notes here. Hold on. I love that the that faction is getting wins, like, left and right. I feel like that's gonna sneak up, like Pac and Pac or Pac. Yeah. And Phoenix. Like, at some point they're gonna be challenging for something, and they're gonna be like, we're 20-0. What are you? That's awesome to me. And Elko, like, they held their ground, like, that was cool. But yeah, Phoenix looks great. Like, good and put forward the right people, and yeah, nothing bad to say about it.
Yeah, as soon as Phoenix did his pile driver finisher, I didn't even know what to put. So I was like, Phoenix is great. That's literally like I honestly
Yeah.
thought he was cool, like when I was first watching AEW, but now he's just like literally this whole death triangle thing. Their like MO is basically throw caution to the wind. It seems like they always go like 100 miles an hour. Everything looks intense and it's really fun to watch. Um, but what you were saying before, Quags, about Angelico saying, okay, he held his ground. I'm confused about Angelico. Why he kind of gets matches and he is like kind of looks strong here or there, but I don't know why, because he has no background of him. I'm like, why is he not like getting squashed? Not saying that like, oh, let's just like let's bury this guy or whatever, but it just seems like they give this guy a lot of time.
in
And I'm like, we know
matches.
he can go.
I think he's supposed to be like a solid like tier 2 guy, right? Like he's supposed to be like able to hold his ground against the
I
top
guess
guys, but
I don't
Yeah.
know. That's sometimes they need to clean up. Like when I was like raving Ethan Page last week, whatever, and it's like Lee Johnson, and they were just saying like, no, Lee Johnson's like a tier below. I'm like, Lee Johnson's not a tier below. This guy was literally not here, and I'm not saying Angelico is a Lee Johnson by any means, but I didn't know what tier really Angelico is. As in like Phoenix is like we're saying is red hot. With Pac go for the tag title soon. So I thought he was just going to smoke him. And then I'm like, oh, they're like getting both moves in. I was like, oh, okay, I just thought that was weird.
So I think Angelico is first of all, I love his style. I like the submission style. That's something that you don't usually see on the show.
He is unique. I will give him that. He is definitely unique.
And these guys have worked together in Mexico, AAA, Lucha Underground, and it showed. I thought this match was great. I don't mind Angelico getting in that much offense, especially when it's in general, it's just like him out maneuvering and getting him into submission holds. So I don't think it holds as much weight. The match lasts longer. He's not like slamming, destroying him.
No.
My other note, I mean, I really enjoyed this match, and my number one note was that Phoenix Cutter looked incredible.
yes.
I watched this match because this is when my TNT app last night shit out. So I watched it today, and I was like, oh, I'm glad I went back and watched this because I thought this was a great little 7-minute match. And I didn't go holding on that long.
You know, it reminded me of when you see like a really good NFL team play a crappy NFL team, or like a mid-level, yeah, not a crappy, like a mid-level NFL team, and they score like 2 touchdowns, and you're like, oh, maybe they have a chance. And then the good NFL team scores like 3 in a row. And you're like, oh, they never really had a chance. And it's like, oh, like that's the difference, right? Like Angelico is like it made me feel like real sports. Oh, like they're good. They can like he can make a few moves and like do a couple things, but really against somebody like Ray Phoenix, like they're never gonna win. Yeah. Or like they need to get better. They need to improve on this or that to actually.
No, that makes sense. Like, I thought that was a great analogy.
Yeah.
All right. So then we had Alex Marvez interviewing Miro mid pull-ups. Miro said he wasn't interested in Chuck Taylor's challenge. Kip Sabian appeared, told Miro he wanted the match because he's still not over them ruining his wedding. Bit of tension was teased between the two of them. Miro seemed unconcerned with Penelope, said the worst thing that happened in Miro's career was bringing his wife ringside, which was clever. All he cares about is his destiny to be champion. When Miro walked away, Kip Sabian told Marvez that they accept the match. I'll say, I'm not a big fan of these types of segments with Miro. I think the direction this one went in was perfect. I think this is what they need. Miro's an asshole. He doesn't give a shit about Kip Sabian, it's clear, or Penelope. I like that he doesn't care about Chuck Taylor. I think for him to be almost like that match is beneath me is good, and him saying like he's more focused on going to win the title is good. What do you think, Chris?
Actually, yeah, I thought this was good. This is what more of Miro needs. So like, I don't want to like repeat everything you said. I agree with everything. It just seems like they're abandoning this pairing though, and it never really got off from the start, which is kind of unfortunate. But I mean, that's also wrestling. You do these things, and then you see if it's not working, then you move on to the next thing.
they know Miro has better things to do,
Yeah.
and how beautiful that these like side shots at WWE, but these are good ones where like the dumbest thing you can do is bring your wife to the ring, like clearly, like you know, a shot at Rusev and Lana being a whole thing, and
So that was the best part of his career, was when he was with her in the beginning.
I know, right? But like for him to then say that it wasn't, like
Yeah.
I don't know, and just great stuff about we'll still be friends outside of the ring. Clearly being like, I'm gonna kick your ass. I'm so ready. I'm so ready to get rid of you, you loser. I love that so much. That was great.
All right. Then Alex Marvez interviewed the Dark Order, and they asked which of them would answer Darby Allin's open challenge. After a quick -1 popping in saying he wanted to, Evil Uno telling him maybe in 9 years, they voted for John Silver, and he wholeheartedly accepted. We're talking Silver Allen.
I'm excited for that. You know, I
Yeah.
actually always enjoy Dark Order now. They are kind of going into this more full-fledged comedy. Like I kind of want them to be serious, but anytime they're on the screen, I just kind of light up. I'm like, they're so funny. You know what I actually thought was really funny, and I'm not sure if you guys saw this because I know your TNT app kind of like frizzed out. They showed it like a graphic of like Darby Allin and like the Dark Order symbol, like, and Darby Allin's gonna verse a Dark Order member next week. Let's see who it's gonna be. And then they interviewed them. So I thought they were gonna build on like the mystery of like, oh, which Dark Order member, and they all just said like, what about John? And they're like, yeah, John. And then they showed another graphic literally a minute later saying, and Darby's apparently gonna verse John Silver. And I was dying. I was just like, they just did that randomly for like a minute just so they could just add his face in. And
That's
John
good.
Silver's hilarious.
No.
And that it's gonna be a good match. Darby versus John Silver. That's gonna be like an underratedly, like low-key good match.
So I love to talk about going to see CZW in random like New Jersey skating rinks, actually the Flyers skate zone. And I saw a Private Party versus the oh gosh, what was John Silver? Yeah, the Beaver Boys. The Beaver Boys. And I'll never forget, I was like, wow, that was really good. Those guys are probably going to be real wrestlers one day. And sure enough, they're now professional wrestlers like on national TV. So I love it. Yeah, so good. Good for John Silver. And I actually think this was a good use of -1. Like him coming out, like, and I know we talked about that before, and I know it's a touchy subject, but this was like, I thought really like a solid use, and it's cute and it's cool, and it's also like nobody feels bad about it.
It was appropriate.
I actually agree with all of that, because I'm probably the most critical of using -1. Mm-hmm. I thought this was, for whatever reason, when they're backstage, it strikes me as less like, oh my god, I'm
exploitative.
Yeah.
And it was just cute that he was like, come on, let me at him. And they're like, all right, kid, not so fast.
Yeah.
They were just like, what about John? Like, they're such good friends that they're not like, I want to be the one. I want to be the one. They're like, John could do it.
Yeah.
Obviously, anyone, which member of Dark Order would you want to see Darby Allin? They know the fans. We all want to see John Silver versus him. That match is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
It's a perfect next opponent for Darby, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's like that.
Darby's gonna win, but it's a good one-off match.
Yeah, but Quack's like hit the nail on the head there. It's like an Uber indie like type of match. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's going to be good. Everyone's going to be excited. Like no one will know who they really are just because they're not really like major superstars, but it's going to be good.
But also, like Darby being, I said earlier, the TNT champion for 150 days, and we've been like, holy cow, that's a really long time. Yeah. But that's who should be. He is the TNT champion. Yeah. He is the guy that is like, I mean, Cody is a good example of someone. Brody Lee was a good example too. Like, those are the kind of people you want to be your TNT champion. Like, they're doing a great job of that. And and Darby should hold it. And if John Silver, Johnny Hungies wins, like, he'd be fine too. Like maybe that's like the TNT like Adult Swim champion somehow. I don't know, but
He'd be perfect for that.
but no, it'll still be Darby. Yeah,
Quick question,
that's
Eric.
solid.
Over under how many times JR is gonna say Johnny Hungy during
Johnny
the match?
Hungy, I'm saying 2. I'm putting the over under at 2.5.
2.5.
Over. I'm taking the over.
We're taking the
I'm
over.
taking the over so hard.
Under.
She's only 98 pounds.
We're gonna come back next week. Keep an eye out keep an ear out because he usually says it twice. I feel like so. If 2.5, I'm gonna say he says it twice.
Dude,
Yeah. He's gonna say something about him being like short but powerful.
I'm telling when John Silver is gonna get like his like major like comeback, whatever, when he gets hot or whatever, JR's gonna be like, oh, here comes Johnny Hungy, and he'll say it like 3 times.
All right, Sharp, you gotta tell the people that we did not talk about the main event or text about it at all.
You did a very good job.
Yeah.
All right, so in the first ever women's AEW Dynamite main event, Thunder Rosa defeated Britt Baker in a lights out match after a Thunder driver off the ring apron through a table. I'm not gonna talk about every individual crazy spot, but we saw chairs, ladders, and they brought out the thumbtacks, baby. Both women bled, but Britt Baker, that wasn't even bleeding, that was gushing blood, absolutely drenched. I'll start. AEW's women's division has a lot of criticism, and I think rightfully so. I think it's getting better, but in a spot where these women needed to knock it out of the park, they did that and then some. This was an absolute fucking wild match. It was great. And this is not just being like, oh, because it's women, like this is one of the best main events. I thought this was one of the best main events in Dynamite history.
Yes.
And some people don't like this match. They do a little too much of it, which again, I say this a lot, when you do crazy matches so often, it takes away from the how wild they can get. But even if you hate this type of match, you can't deny how hard these girls worked. I just thought it was phenomenal. I thought the right person went over too. I thought it was great.
Mm-hmm.
Quag, what do you think?
So, man, I thought everything was awesome. The thumbtack spots I thought were so good. That really got it over for me. But the thing that really made me love it was the fact that that ladder spot that Thunder Rosa did with Britt, she didn't quite get there off the ropes, and she still slammed Britt's body into the ladder, where I was like, that's really what you would do, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
like
Mm-hmm.
so her like their jump didn't quite get there, but she made sure to get like Britt's body on the ladder and over. And man, I was like, when I saw the replay of that and they showed it 3 times, whatever, and it was like, it wasn't sloppy. It was really like, yo, this is almost seemed real. Like they were so committed to putting on a match like this. Yeah, it was so over for me. Like, I can nitpick this match, but I would really rather not. I loved it. I love Thunder Rosa and Britt. I think that last week I said with that 6 women tag match, like, why don't we just have Britt versus Thunder Rosa?
Oh yeah, who said that?
And yeah, and thank God they gave it to us, and yeah, they delivered. It was awesome. So happy watching this match. So I missed Dynamite last night, so I watched Dynamite today. Well, I was at work like randomly throughout the day, and this is the one thing like I couldn't turn away. I was like putting meetings on mute so I could watch this the rest of this match. And
TPS reports.
Yeah, I was putting my TPS reports on hold to watch this, because I was like, once it was going, I was like, oh my gosh, are they really doing this stuff? It was wild. It's so good.
Yeah, this was an amazing match. You guys said everything that needed to be said. Just this absolutely needed to happen. Their women's division was floundering. I could say every cliche that there is, saying, oh, they threw a Hail Mary, they knocked out of the park, everything that happened. absolutely happened. And it's good that this main event was like one of their best, not because they're just women, but just let alone just talking about matches. This is definitely one of the best. So like this would be interesting to see like where they go now from here. I would say strike now. No more clusters of randomness. It's like what we were joking about before Quags last week about like why didn't they just do Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker? And look what happened. Now they have literally one of the best TV main events that they ever had. They got to keep doing that. They got to build background. They got to build stories. Like we knew, like it wasn't random to me. I knew who Thunder Rosa was. I knew who Britt Baker was. I knew why they were feuding and why they're going to and why they had to have this match. And I was kind of shocked. I'm like, oh, this is the main event. Okay. And then I'm like, this definitely had to be the main event. I would actually have been really remiss if it was like in the middle of the show or whatever. But man, like, so I was gonna ask you guys, do you think this is like a turning of the new leaf of their women's division?
Well,
Or
they and Thunder Rosa, first of all, if they haven't,
they do
I
now?
think a part of this match, and this is not a criticism, this still was a hardcore match. So it's not typical. You're not going to do this every week.
Right.
Part of how great this match was what they were willing to do, where as a viewer you couldn't help but be like, Jesus Christ, she's bleeding buckets. She's getting, specifically Britt Baker, she's getting thrown in thumbtacks. She rolled back into the thumbtacks, and then she got like a tight the Thunder driver through a table like onto her neck, where I was just like, dude, this girl's really showing out for the company. I don't know. I specifically, they're both great, but Britt Baker, from when she started and they were kind of having her as like probably the focal point woman, where I was like, wow, they really are kind of weak if this is going to be the number one female on the show, to refining the character, turning her heel, having the great like having her be like an asshole dentist with Rebel and Reba, and now having this as like the big, even though she lost, I mean she needed to lose this match.
Yeah.
I think it put her over huge. She looked fit. And that real quick, that image of her bleeding, like still mean a lot, like in wrestling. That's classic imagery and whatnot. That's going to be remembered for a long time coming.
Put on a t-shirt.
So much you can use the blood as, and it doesn't really resonate, and it's too much. And this was the opposite of it. Like when Thunder Rosa started bleeding, that was great. And then when Britt started bleeding and really started bleeding, like it just added to the match. I agree. Yeah, they can't do this every week. Not sustainable to have that kind of match. But this set a new tone. I mean, these two aren't going to compete for the championship necessarily, but maybe that's not what they want. Maybe they want to be able to create that second level feud where someone else can come in or whatever. But Char, to your point, like shout out to Britt. Like she took some bumps, man. Like to take that thumbtack bump and then to take the final bump. Because I thought after she took the bump on the tacks, I thought that she was going to win. Like she was going to put Thunder Rosa through the table and be able to pin her. And then to not do that was impressive. I mean, just as a wrestler, but also as a viewer, I was like, okay, like clearly they're putting Thunder Rosa over. Like, yeah.
Builds good
stories.
It
was awesome. Whole match, like, man.
It builds
good.
The spots like the chair, ladder, chair, like all that stuff. Every time I kept writing like in my notes, like, wow, that was a great spot. Wait, that was a great
flowed
sequence.
well. It wasn't just like clunky like they did at the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
It flowed correctly. It build, and I was just like,
Evolution ladder match, pretty much.
Exactly.
So
and Thunder Rosa kicking out of the glove thing. Like that's like that. No one's done that, right? Like that was great.
Yeah, the lockjaw.
Really good old lockjaw.
Yeah.
Hopefully this revamps everything, man. And hopefully it turns a new leaf for their women's division because it was floundering.
Jumping ahead, I'm guessing that I mean, this is the end of the show. I'm guessing this is all a rocket of the night.
Yeah.
That's safe to say. You know,
Yeah, for sure.
and like Rocket of the Night, not saying that like everything else was bad, and it was like this was a well-deserved Rocket of the Night. You had great matches. You had the Pinnacle debut. To be honest, I probably would have chose the Pinnacle if Britt Baker, Thunder Rosa wasn't on this card, and if it was just something random. So it wasn't just like, oh, this was just the best out of the worst. This was a very, very good main event, and they definitely deserve to get pushed going forward.
So, Chris, what was your anchor of the night?
The anchor. I feel like I always choose the Sting promo. And like I'm worried that if I keep choosing that, then I'm just gonna like become
no. I mean,
well, no, because I'm giving them flack that they're becoming so predictable that they do it every week, and then it's like all joke to me that like, oh, Chris, what's your anchor of the night? And then I become predictable and I do the same thing every night. Like I'm joining in on the monotony of them doing the promo constantly. And now they're bringing me into it and I'm getting frustrated. But yeah, it's probably that. The Sting promo, it's just like it gets a little silly at the time or whatever. It was like I enjoyed like hearing new people and stuff. Like, so it was just more of the clunkiness, even though the Darby part was great. Like, let alone that, I didn't find too many like bad things like about the show. It was just more of just the idea of the Sting thing happening again.
Yeah. What about you, Claes?
For me, it's very specific. It's Cody selling the shoulder injury. Like he didn't sell that at all. He did at opportune times, but then he would slam Pentagon. Like, so yeah, that's mine.
Mine was also the Sting interview. And for me, I didn't even think it was that bad, but I thought the show was really, really good. So I had to pick something. It was either that or I didn't like the Moxley Kingston promo. I thought it was too goofy, but all right, 1 to 10. I'll go first. I gave this like an 8.5. I was almost going to go to a 9. I'll give it 8.5 out of 10. Quags, what do you think?
I'm gonna give it a 9. I was harsh on last week. I thought they really didn't do so great, but this week I was compelled the whole time. And yeah, I really have to maybe even give it an extra whole point. I was gonna say half point, but maybe a whole point for that finale. Like the main event is so good. So yeah, I'm gonna say 9.
I might have to go with 8.5. I thought the show was awesome. I think this proves whenever AEW has some wacky, crazy theme, St. Patrick's Day slam or Valentine's Day vixen, whatever you want to do, I don't even care. Every time they have a theme show, it's good. They always show out, and I definitely enjoy them doing like theme shows, making their TV show Dynamite more important, and doing their 4 main pay-per-views over than having 18 diluted pay-per-views like going into it. So I thought this was a solid 8.5, and the main event was amazing.
So real quick before we leave, I just have 2 points. I think a reason the show was so great was there's almost no comedy. If you think about it, there was the dark segment, which wasn't even
hint of that. Yeah, that's good.
And I guess Moxley and Kingston joking with each other. Other than that, that's their. Which they need to just do that. Cut down on it. Less comedy. You don't have to not have any comedy, but the show
we could laugh, but no wackiness or like,
Every segment shouldn't be something where they're playing video games or goofing on each other.
Right.
Well, you can think like Kenny walking out and putting the chair up, like that had all the looks like it was gonna be a comedy segment, but instead it was like ominous and
yeah.
It's good. It's like you take it seriously when they take themselves seriously.
Yeah. And then my last note was we got such a kick out of, and we love this every week. JR cutting, and stay tuned for Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon.
Oh my gosh.
My roommate pitched the idea of doing like a mashup of all like JR cutting to like, and now we're talking Central Intelligence, and you gotta stay tuned, stick to your seat, folks. We got the Mummy.
It's just like it's like you want to add like tidbits like Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa was amazing. You're seeing like Britt Baker like lying on the floor, bloody heap or whatever, and then you just hear JR like, and we got the mummy right after
The
this. And I'm like,
third film in the Mummy series that everybody hated, but you gotta stick to.
Like,
I was
it's
like,
just-
this is
this is
iconic.
job.
This is iconic. Like when the thing came up, like the title thing, like AEW,
Yes.
like yeah. It's just like, man, just say nothing. Say nothing.
JR probably knew. He's just like, oh God, I'm gonna look like such an ass, but here is the mummy.
Yeah, it's like he doesn't have any choice.
That was hilarious, but that was so like just way to just like kill like the vibe as in like, whoa, we just watched something amazing. Like, and here's the mummy right after this.
All right, seems like we all enjoyed St. Patrick's Day Slam. Anyone have anything else to add, or?
Oh, good show.
Have a good one.
All right, later, guys. This was the AEW Dynamite review. We'll see you next time.